Alrighty, welcome to Milestone 2, the prototype. So you guys worked through Milestone 1 or are currently working on Milestone 1. We're going to take that and expand the block out by introducing functional interactions. Did you think we were going to get away with just a level we could walk through? No, we have to make it actually do things. So wherever you have put setup volumes and you've described something that's going to happen, that's where it's going to happen. Do I stack it? Do I push it? Do I interact with it? Do I pull levers? Do I fall through trapdoors? That all has to work. So, as a reminder, as always, we're working on scraps. If you think you started working on a fantasy medieval RPG at some point, you're working on the wrong game. Please go to the game manual if you forgot what this is, or what is allowed or not allowed. You shouldn't be building a prison. For a list of tips and tricks while you're constructing, if you're having a hard time with your block out after watching any of the videos we've posted or gone through any of the assignments, and that's still really tough, but you haven't gone to this document, please go to the document. Hopefully it'll help you out. For the assignment, as it says, please finish reading this entire assignment before you actually start working on what's going on. I would hate for you to pick one randomly and start working on it and then miss something. So you're going to be opening your level scene that you have been working on. That's where everything's happening. Addressing feedback as it comes into you from the QA testing discussion or your instructor for Milestone 1. Continue to polish and refine your design. Don't waste time hunting for models and textures because you want your level to look like what you're describing. We don't care what it looks like other than we need the collision to work. We need a very simple like collidable blockout form of your level. We have specific materials that we've told you guys to put onto different things to visually describe what they are, static, interactive, etc. So we're not looking for shiny metal or standard assets, trees or anything like that. Trees were already given to you guys. Aesthetics is not what we care about right now. It's all in blockout state. We're building the functionality that should exist at each location as described by your setup volumes. If you feel lost building things, please go to the experiments, or even the recorded lectures page has some different types of experiments or setups that have been done for like past classes and whatnot. So you're going to be building the functionality that exists. Your setup volumes, whatever they describe, should be the ones that work. And then you are placing and hiding collectibles, so cash, scrap, whatever is required by your setups, along the way to help the player lead help lead the player to each setup. The pickups and inventory system are explained in this, so we're going to go over that. They have to work with our inventory system. So please don't go online to look for a brand new inventory and how to do a pickup. We have those tools given to you. You're working on a game that has an inventory. So when naming your scripts, if you've started actually working on any scripting things, please don't just name things with generic names. You should do something to differentiate yours from somebody else's. We're all working on scraps. We all have doors. We probably all will have a trigger or pressure plate or a box. Make sure you put at least your initials or something in front of it so that it is your script. That way, if you have a gas script and someone else has a gas script, you're not going to have issues later when you merge your projects together. In the for the level project tool suite, so collectibles, as stated, you're making the game. You're making a level for the game scraps. Collectibles should be placed in creative and believable ways throughout the level, not floating in the air, but on tables, on the floor, wherever someone might have dropped something. They should work effectively as a breadcrumb. That doesn't mean put down a piece of bread and tell the scrapper that they're going to grandma's house. The idea of a breadcrumb is that they're going to visually lead the player because they want whatever shiny thing you put there. You don't put them directly in front, but you hide them just barely out of view, so when they're walking forward and it catches their eye, they immediately turn towards that thing, because that thing is important. It should be exciting for them to see it. The game systems are already in place, which includes a working collectible system and inventory interface. I'm going to open this really quick so we can go over that. To create a pickup or collectible in our project, we will use the Scraps HUD pickup script. This script was developed to actually assign the items to the inventory that is currently being displayed. You want to make sure that the collider is a trigger, not a collider, so that when the player steps into the item, it actually picks it up. On the script, when you assign the Scraps HUD pickup component to an object, the type name is the actual name of the item. So whenever you want to check how many you have of it or something like that, you won't use the game object's name. You will use type name instead. The icon has to be assigned. The icons do not auto resize. So if you go try to find icons on the internet, if they're not the right size, your inventory is going to be really kind of ugly. Just use the ones that are there. Aesthetics don't matter. You can pick, the money icon or the question mark icon for everything. It doesn't matter. Give it a name, pick an icon. If you want it to be unknown until the player picks it up, click is unknown, and then on the inventory it'll say there is, however many of I have no idea. So at least it gives them another goal of trying to find this other item. The inventory is in the hub scene. You can find it by storing it. Use game object find object of type, call Scraps HUD inventory, and then store it into a variable. And then from that variable, you can call one of these functions to then check things such as how many I have, or call functionality for removing, or that sort of thing. So get pickup amount. If you pass in the type name, it'll return an integer of how many of that you have. Remove pickup, if you pass in the type name and then the amount, it'll remove that many from your inventory. Remove all pickups, and you pass in the type name, will actually remove the entire block that's on your inventory. So there's predefined sections for each type. If you get to 0 of an item and there's no more of that, and you want to clear up your inventory, you can call that to remove the block. There is also a prefab for the pickup. There's an example pickup that's already built. It's in the tools folder. So if you don't want to create your own, you can just grab the tool, go to the tools folder and drop in an example and use that one. Okay. So dealing damage. What's the point of a checkpoint if the player can't die? So for area damage, there's something called a damage volume, which either does damage over time, or you can change the values to do damage instantly. The player has a health system, but the health system, like most components, if they're designed properly, should be able to be applied to anything. So if you wanted a wall to have damage, you could apply a health system component to it. And then once it reaches, 0 health, then it goes away, it dies. So for the health system specifically, the player avatar has this script, but you can put it on something else. There is a health display script attached that displays it to the top where it says like 100 out of 100 or whatever, that updates the HUD to match. But the health script handles the actual life and death of that object. You can attach a sound effect, a death object if you want something to appear when they die, such as an explosion or something like that. And finally, it should cause, there's a thing for if you want it to cause damage upon death to nearby objects, then explosion thing. That's also on there. You can check trigger explosion and it'll do that. It won't visually explode, but it'll cause damage. So if you want something to take damage, here's an example. It says damage example, and it says if you want to get access to the health component, in this example, there's a private health variable called p-health, and then on trigger enter, if it's the player, we then take p-health and we store, other is the thing that shows up in the trigger volume, other.getComponent health, we store that into p-health, and then we run the function apply damage, which is part of the health system, to apply 10 damage. If you wanted health to go the opposite direction, -10, and then it goes up. Applying negative damage, that's how Band-Aids work. They apply negative damage. So the health script also has a max health variable. which is the top health the player should have or the object should have, and then current health, which is what they currently have. So when you are applying negative damage, you can actually check to see if we've passed max health, and if we have, set current health to max health to then restrict them to that. That way, if you for some reason put health packs into your game and they over heal, they're not then leaving your level with like 300 health and then just breezing through everyone else's. In the tools folder is where the damage volumes are if you would like to add an area damage thing, but the rest would be scripted interactions. Okay. For more pre-constructed tools, please go to the Level Project Tool Suite. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there that you can use as you're working, but those are the ones that are very specific to this milestone. For daily builds and submission, every day you work, you should submit your updates to your project to the working folder, so that if something ever bad happens, your working folder has the closest backup of your stuff. You should also submit a new build to the compiled folder, so when people are doing QA testing, they can give you accurate feedback to something that you have already updated. So if they're giving you feedback for an old build that has old stuff in it, and then your response to all of them is, well, that's already fixed, then that's useless to you. Why did they QA test an old build? So ensure that you have a recent backup of your working folder, and make sure that you have a playable build every day. So save your scenes and your project, and then follow these steps to submit your work. In Perforce, in the Depot tab, not the workspace, use mark for delete on the build you created previously in the compiled folder. So you've made, by this point, a setup build, and you've made a milestone 1 build. You're once again going to mark it for delete and then submit it. If you haven't made those builds before, there's no reason for you to mark anything for delete. You're just going to put something up on the Perforce. So use reconcile offline work on your assets folder inside of your working folder for your project, where you have been using Unity to work on your project. That is going to locate any newer files that still need to be added to the server, and will mark them for add. It will locate files that have been changed that are not already checked out, and it will check them out saying that you are working on them. It will locate files that are no longer on your workspace that need to be removed from the server to ensure that you have a good backup that you can return to, and it will mark them for delete. Then you want to use revert unchanged files on your pending change list to reduce impact on the server for anything that you have previously checked out but you're not actively working on. Then you're going to submit that pending change list to the depot. When you submit the pending change list, it's going to do all of the things that you have currently done: mark for add, check out, mark for delete, etc., to make sure that all of those get changed on the server. In Unity, you're going to build a Windows build with your last name and first name under your month, section number, compiled. Last name, first name is a folder that you make, and then test your build. This is where your other builds went, so this should be the same folder, same name as all the builds. Make sure that your hub is the first scene, and you have your level scene in there after it, and any other necessary scenes that need to go with it in your build settings. In Perforce, in the Workspace tab, not the depot, use mark for add on that newly compiled build folder so that it adds a new version of these files because you've deleted them from the server. This is now a new version going up. Then submit your pending change list to the depot. When a deadline is approaching and you decide you are finished with this milestone, submit your final pending change list to the depot. The change list description must say submission for milestone 2. This is the build that will be graded. If you type something different into your change list description, you can go to View, Submitted Change List, locate your change list, right-click and edit Submitted Change List to change the description and apply it. So if you named it accidentally Submission for Milestone 1, or you said Submission for Island Experiment, you can name it Milestone 2, as I hope you're submitting Milestone 2. If you're receiving any errors, check the project template technical solutions section or reach out to your instructor make sure that you're submitting a working build, test your build. If your submission is complete, if you haven't already done so, please check the rubric. That's your step-by-step checklist of what you are being graded on and how you can achieve the best possible grade. And finally, the showstoppers for this. If the build does not run on Windows, if the level scene is not attached to the hub scene, if your core gameplay mechanics have been compromised, do not move the player. The submitted build is unplayable at the lowest quality setting. The build submitted is not using the latest version of the project template. We should be past this point, but if you've taken this class before and you submit an old build instead of making a new one, then it will have the old project template, and that could be a bad thing. So make sure that is taken care of. This is going to be way more stressful than the first milestone, because if you're not comfortable with coding, now you're jumping headfirst into it. While you're working, decide what your level is for, like your skill level. If you think that the thing you're trying to tackle is way out of reach, then try to come up with another thing you can make that is still fun, still equally interesting, and build that. If you still have time, yeah, tackle the crazy thing, but don't get wrapped up on a major mechanic that you are completely aware of that you cannot do. We have to take what we can do and what is available to us and then do the best with it within the time frame allotted. You can make changes as you go. Level design is, as always, an iterative process. So thanks a lot, and good luck on your project.